Alright, so today I'm going to do a quick recap of the boulders that I did in 2022. It was a really great year. I was able to get out, I think, almost 100 days. There were some injuries involved, but I don't know, I think that at the end of the day I had a lot of fun this year because of just the pure volume that I got. So yeah, we'll kick it off with my first V9. So this is a climb called Aggressive Reject in Leavenworth, Washington. This one was definitely my style, very board-like climbing. The right-hand start hold is pretty in-cut compared to the rest of the holds. It's like maybe a 5-6 millimeter in-cut, and then left is just straight micro razor. First move is pretty powerful dead point into the like maybe 3 millimeter pinch. Really got to swing the hips to get into it. And then at that point, the next move is a dead point off of it. So luckily I had good conditions, so that way it didn't slip off of that left hand pinch. Next climb is Terminator V7 in Fontainebleau. This thing was pretty hard for me. Felt kind of reachy. Not the best for if you're a short climber, but it's like the classic climb in Elephant. So it starts off with like compressing on some crimps. You move up left and then gotta really reach out right to compress on some crimps. I always like miss one of them. But yeah, and then after that there's like some hard smearing. It was especially difficult for me at the time because I was like breaking in new shoes and I kind of wanted to go to Font on hard mode, so I like took a new pair of VSRs, which are pretty stiff, to Font, which is a terrible idea because everything is like slabby feet. So, but I figured it'd be like good training. Like that's what I mainly wanted. And then I found that I liked this pinch a lot just because it gave me some more security, especially as I came into the upper holds, whereas like if I tried to use the slopers, I'd slip off them, get a really far heel, and then kind of just paw slopers up to the top. Nothing like with really good texture up there, unfortunately, so I'm kind of just beach whaling. And it's very ugly top out. This is definitely like my ugliest top out to date, but at the same time I'm really proud of it because I think that it took a lot of grit and perseverance and try hard to do it. Next up is Shots Fired, V4 at Squamish. This is the only thing I did at Squamish because when I was warming up I hurt my butt bone. My hands were really sweaty and it's pretty humid there. We only had one pad on the warm-up and I was like doing some heel hook shenanigans. Hand slipped off and I pendulumed off my heel hook and just barely missed the pad, and where I landed there was a rock instead of just ground. So yeah, got like a bit of a minor fracture there. Yeah. Butt bone fractures suck, by the way. You can't even climb with tension, so I kind of just had to take like a month off. But when I came back to climbing, it was a couple months after moving to Vegas. Moving to Vegas was definitely worth it. Got to do a lot of volume this year because of it, including my first V7 flash, which was monkey wrench. I like the little cheeky heel toe combo there, so that way I can support my weight while I try to find the good spot in the pocket. Yeah, I mean, I know everyone says it's soft, but I was still pretty happy to take a flash on it. Definitely a good way to get my Red Rock season started, so regardless of what the difficulty is, I was always happy that I could, use it as a way to get psyched at the beginning, and I did really enjoy this climb a lot. I think that has some really nice flowy movements, and I'm glad that there's like pretty accessible short beta, so that was pretty nice. Next up, Down the Line V8. So this was my first V8 flash, and at first I thought it might have been soft, but it was with some V11 climbers, and apparently they had been sessioning it for a few sessions. So yeah, I feel like I probably can't necessarily give it a downgrade. It's hard to say. At this point I'm unsure about it, but regardless, pretty happy about getting the flash on this. It's got some really cool movements. Dead point is super fun. Next up, Family Feud, first V10. So this was a pretty fun moment for me. Took me maybe 3 sessions. Spent a lot of time just trying to figure out the heel hook beta. I found out that the 3 things for me were I wanted to have a 3-finger crimp on the left hand. Gives me more space for the heel. For the right hand, there's like a divot that I use for my thumb, so that's sort of what I like for that, because I really like crimp pinching if possible, and so that made me feel a lot stronger there. The other thing was, instead of starting with the heel, I actually like to start with the right foot and then pull in, so that way my hips are already close to the wall when I set the heel, And then this way, instead of the crux being pulling onto the heel and then leaning back to reach the hole, I just have to pull my hips in, set the heel, and then all the hamstring crux is sort of disengaging the heel just enough so that way you can reach back into that first hold. But yeah, and then the rest of the climb is pretty fun. Took me like another 15 goes after that to figure out the rest of the climb, so the rest isn't too bad. You get the pincer beta, which is super cool, and then jumping to the jug. So it felt pretty badass to do that. Cirque du Soleil. This might be my favorite V3. It's just so gorgeous and pretty high up on the cliffside, so it's like you get like a really nice view. Gorgeous rock, gorgeous view, and then the climb is a total meme, so you end up laughing with your friends a lot. And it's really interesting movement too, like the way that you do like the reach back onto the lip and sort of spin out. My like leg got caught, so I don't do a full spin, but yeah. And the top out is like not quite a gimme either. I felt like it was a bit tricky. So yeah, definitely a great V3. I thought it was so cool. All right, next up, acid wash right. So jug start to acid wash right was something that I'd been trying a lot. I think I'd put in 3 sessions before this most recent trip, and I'd been trying so hard to like make some stupid short beta work, and this time I just decided to stick with like the original beta, which is the toe hook around the corner. And so yeah, I was able to get this end there and then started working the low start, and really glad that I was able to get it. I mean, like I had like a lot of work stress happening around that time, so I was like pretty sleep deprived. I think I'd only gotten like 4 hours of sleep the night before, but luckily friend Eric came to the rescue with some pretty clutch beta for how to do the drop knee, and so I was able to get the link because of that. So yeah, definitely a big shout out to my boy Eric there. The drop knee is super sick. Cool. So I like to hit the crimp on the left side, and I'll explain that later, but high drop knee, I like the high foot more because I feel like that foot gets more leverage. I like to toe hook underneath for coming out to the wide pinch. And at this point, this is where having that crimp on the left side makes a big difference, because if you're on the deeper part to the right, then at this point you just sort of slide out because of your body coming out of the cave, whereas if you have it like on the left side, then you can compress with your 2 arms a lot better, and so it's a lot easier to keep tension prior to going into the remaining moves. But yeah, that was, I think, the highlights of this year. There was definitely a lot of climbs, but I just decided to include some of the ones that meant the most to me. So yeah, thanks for watching.